All right. Well, happy Monday, right? It is no wait, no, today's Tuesday. Oh my gosh, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Hope everyone's doing all right. I I've recently discovered that I am in need of a starting town for things. And so as usual, hey Ian and hey Brian, as usual, you go back and you want to look at things already out there. And, Hamlet comes up a lot. Hey, Bruno. Hamlet comes up a lot in terms of well regarded initial settings. Maybe that's not the right word. Locations where you can plunk folks. The Keep on the Borderlands. The Keep is another one. But in terms of a town, and I know they call Hamlet the Village of Hommlet, but I really think it more as a town because, just in my own parlance, villages are basically just farming spots. Or maybe if we wanted to talk about them more broadly, I might say that they are raw material spots. So you might have a mining village, which just has miners mining with probably some farms to support them. And then farming, some kind of raw materials. They're not the place where you come and you have trade and commerce and that stuff. That's a town. And the Village of Hommlet is certainly a town. But it's a good one. It has a lot to offer, and I thought we could go through it. It's been a long time since I kind of read Hamlet for Hamlet, if that makes sense. It wasn't that long ago where we took a look at the moat house, which actually I couldn't remember this, but I was trying to find it. So I was looking at the map. I was like, "Hey, where's the moat house again?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it's not actually on the map. There's a little note here, I think 33, that says, "Oh, if you follow this, it kind of goes and it goes off map, and the moat house is somewhere. I don't even know how long. It doesn't. I don't think it even really says how far it is over there." But the back to the village itself, it gives you kind of everything you want out of your starting town, including what I like is, and I hate that term verisimilitude, but kind of the verisimilitude of sort of the setting. So I thought we could go through kind of and just look at the town for the town. Like I said, it's been a while, and see what it tells us about things. I did just before coming on. I did read a little bit of Guy Gax's intro, and the Village of Hommlet is by Guy Gax himself, and so this is him speaking to us about the module itself. It says it's designed for beginning play. This is not to say that experienced players can not play and enjoy the scenario, but they should start new first level characters to do so. That's probably not that important for my purposes. If you happen to have a group which is quite new to the game, there is no sense in requiring they begin the whole thing over once more, and you're requiring that they begin. Whoops, hold on a minute. Happen to have a group which is quite new to the game, there's no sense in requiring they begin the whole thing once more. Okay, I'm not sure what they mean by that. All right, let's go. Skip that. Okay, so I don't care about the experience part. What do we get to? Let's see. Good idea to sharply limit the amount of material. Okay, so they basically about kind of limiting starting supplies and stuff. That's, or maybe not supplies, but kind of starting, I guess maybe gear. That's fine. If your group of players has had exceptional luck, simply engineer a minor encounter or two along the way, leprechauns and thieves, perhaps some brigands. So probably not what I would want to do, but I guess the idea here is that if your group's got too much stuff, you don't want to imbalance. You don't want to imbalance the, I guess the village. So you got to find a way to sort of remove some of the excess. This is probably not something I would want to do, but Brian says one more time, and I'll summon the verisimilitude demon. Maybe. I'd like to see the verisimilitude demon. That might be actually fun. Maybe I can bring him on for a chat. Each number building area has its general information first. Immediately following this material, which you should not reveal to the players. As a matter of course, all the insertional material, which is for kind of GM's eyes only, is boldface. Okay. I was actually hoping for more practical stuff, but that's fine. Maybe down here. Let's see. Scrolling. In fact, the whole is only general. While some characteristics of the non-player characters, aka NPCs, are given, there is sufficient latitude for you to completely personalize the module to fit your style of play and satisfy your players. Follow the guidelines given, but round them out so as to make each encounter unique. The persons met at the inn, along the road, and so forth are you, for the Dungeon Master is all. Monsters, NPCs, the gods, everything. Play it to the hilt. Do it with flair and wit. Be fair both to the characters and to yourself. Be deceitful, clever, and thoroughly dishonest when acting the part of a thief. Be cunning, but just when in the role of a warding ranger. Actually, think of it as if the part you are taking is that of a character you are playing, and act accordingly, but temper actions with disinterest and the eventual outcome and only from the viewpoint of that particular role. Wearing 2, 3, or a half dozen or more different hats is challenging, but that is part of being an outstanding DM. There's actually some pretty darn good advice, right? Play up the NPCs, but remember to keep it kind of disinterested. And don't let things slide into that kind of DMPC territory where you start to care more about the outcome for this specific character that you've invented or put on than you might for the situation, right? So you got to hold yourself in check a little bit, but have fun. The area here, as well as the temple, contain a separate module. Yes, a very separate module. Was developed in order to smoothly integrate players with and without experience into the Greyhawk campaign into a scenario related to the quote-unquote old timers only by relative proximity. So I guess I'm guessing. So remember, the module that eventually comes after this was supposed to come out in more or less sequential fashion, and then does not. Is that Return to the Temple of Elemental Evil? I guess what you might be referring to is the regular Temple of Elemental Evil, which maybe was something that I think maybe the old timers. I'm not sure if he's talking about his table and if they played through that scenario and the original temple was destroyed, because in return, the evil is coming back to sort of restore, or they have come back and they're kind of restoring the temple that had been there. And unlike the moat house was an outpost of the original temple, and the moat house was destroyed, and there are some things still there, kind of thing. Only certain of the villagers are named. Please name the others to suit your campaign. Similarly, most of the buildings do not have floor plans, so you should do them for any of these where you plan action. Change the map of Hommlet as the game progresses. Note any places which are destroyed. Add new ones for any persons you have moved into the place. If a general battle seems likely, you can list the village militia and fight it out on the tabletop. In short, the scenario has been left as open as possible for individualization. Have fun. And this is one of those things, too, that was in fashion, I think, in this kind of old school. The keep, cut from the same cloth, right? You go to the keep, nobody's named, just titles, if anything. And the jeweler, the castellan, and his wife, all that, which I think now people are more likely to look at that and think of it in terms of kind of authorial laziness. Well, why didn't they name everybody? But the idea here is that you would name them, give them your kind of goofy names or not so goofy names or whatever. You would really kind of take them and sort of make them your own and flesh it out for you. I think I feel pretty confident that those guys could have named all the characters that they wanted to, but they wanted to leave it for you to do. And he makes that clear. Let's see. Oh, Danny says this is a great home base. It is. It is. And you forget that. Well, I forget it. Other people don't forget it. So is there anything else from this kind of intro that I want to note? As a final note, remember that the NPCs who are given as agents of various powers will send a continual stream of information to their superiors. They will be cautious in all that they do and unlikely to be duped or maneuvered. If they participate in any adventures, or if they are imprisoned or badly treated, their masters will be very unhappy upon hearing the bad news, and each concerned party will absolutely seek to redress matters according to their alignment, personality, and ultimate goals. There are wheels within wheels in Hommlet and the lands around, and behind each character there's another. The circles growing wider, and the figures shadowy but very powerful. Which is kind of also a nice thing, right? This is really, and I don't know whether he's saying this directly, but this is kind of a little bit like, hey, you're gonna, if you guys just go murder hoboing through here, know that these folks are not just goofs that will not be remembered and not be forgotten, not be thought of. That, hey, if you kill this guy or he gets into trouble or whatever, and they were an agent of whatever party, and of course you can change those powers to suit your own campaign. But basically, these people are expecting things from these people. These people are links in a chain, and if that chain happens to break because the party messed with that particular link, well, people from up that chain are going to come looking, and the reckonings should be had. So murder hobos beware. Now we get to the actual key. And this is something I appreciate about this, because it's not just, I don't know, I don't even know the fun stuff. There might be fun stuff all over this, but we have a lot of different locations, which I just really like for things that are kind of maybe obvious or things that may have practical utility, right? So we have a church up here, but we have stuff that probably has no practical utility to players. Okay, we got the inn. That's obviously going to be good. But we also got, we have farmers, we got the druid. Yeah, maybe they might be useful. We have a herdsman. Probably not going to be something that the party is going to really need to interact with. The wheel and Wainwright, maybe if the party ends up with a cart and it breaks down, kind of thing. Carpenter, maybe, probably not, but you never know. Stonemason, unless they decide to build their own stronghold, just in terms of locations, maybe not. Village Elder, yeah, sure, they're kind of authority figure. More farmers. Weaver, no, probably not. Village Hall, the blacksmith, yeah, they'd probably be useful. Village Hall, yeah, definitely, it's a kind of a place to go. Leather worker, I guess. I don't remember. We'll see if you have to go to all these different places to buy equipment, or if they have everything more centrally located. Miller, no, we're not going to have to do that. Cheese, no. Teamster, maybe. Trader, that I'm guessing that might be where you buy stuff, but who knows? Money changer, yeah, maybe that. Potter, probably not. Brewer, maybe. My point being that what I appreciate about it is it's giving you a well-rounded look at all these things for the town, not just stuff that's kind of fun and exciting from a player's standpoint. It's not just, I don't know, the inn and the mayor's house and whatever, the kind of exciting things. It's giving you get the town, the sense of a town as an actual town. There are farms here. I don't know if there are enough farmers to necessarily support the town. I would imagine maybe there's even more outstanding or out farms on the outskirts, I should say. They're kind of out and about somewhere, but we have pasture. We have folks here whose purposes, at least in their jobs, really are going to have nothing to do probably with the party. The cabinet maker is probably not going to be interfacing with the party for anything particular. Maybe you could come up with it, but maybe you won't. But regardless, they're there. And so when your party's bumping around the town and running into people in the inn or on the street, or when they're wandering around, they'll run into all these people, which I just think give it that kind of living, a much more sense of being alive. That you have people here who are operating not for the party's benefit. The party may be here, they may not be here, they may be adventuring, they may be healing up, but these people are kind of going along in their lives, and they require these kind of services are all pretty vital to the people in the town, even though to the party that they're most of them probably have very little meaning. Hey, RPG Grandma. But I like that. And I like that, if you want to call it the big V word or something else, just in terms of, yeah, this feels like it could be a real place. I don't know if this town plan comes from anywhere or if it's just totally made up. I think we have some nice, just on that note, we've got a river that runs through. It makes a whole lot of sense because rivers were used often and used for all sorts of things. So rivers, lifelines right in the river. We've got a road that cuts through, splits off in a couple of spots. We've got, some authority. They're building, which is kind of cool. I don't know if I wonder if some people's games, anyone got around to actually where they built this castle, that they're building a castle. They have a kind of a central, I think, or not, maybe not a central tower, but this tower, I think, has been built by the time of the beginning, but you can see this outline of where this castle is going to be, which they will need because you need protection. There's no walls in the village. So they have a castle. It does make me wonder how the village survived before this castle was put here, because you had elemental evil folks not very far away, because you can get to the moat house walking some distance away. There are no fortifications otherwise. So a little bit of an open question. Well, who was here before? And were they just under the thumb of the cult and paid their taxes, if you will, and just went to it? Or what did they do? I don't know. But they are getting a new castle, which makes absolute sense. RBG Grandma says, they always liked this town. Never mind one game they were in the party. It was in the party massacred it. Yeah. I mean, that's what we'll get into, right? Because, we're going to see where there's no... all the, Gygax and company are presenting us with all the data. And then it's really, I think the fascinating thing is here's all the stuff. And this is similar to the Keep, which is why I think people find the Keep so rife with possibility, is that they just kind of give you all this information about the place. And really it's left up to you how to handle it. So we're going to look and we'll go start reading some of these and we'll see there's all kinds of things here. And they all have their little savings that they've hidden away or different little aspects of them. And if you're a good party, you'll probably never find this stuff out. But it's that I liken it to the old Ultima games. If you're a child of the 80s like I am, you might remember the kind of early Ultimas, prior to Ultima Online. In particular, Ultima 4, I remember it was a big one, but Ultima 1, 2, 3. Well, I don't know. One of them was an exception to this. But anyway, they were these big open worlds. And granted, you were supposed to be a hero doing heroic things, but the game didn't block things off to say, nope, you can't do mischief here. You know, if it's a store, you can walk around the store, you could walk behind the counter, you could try to steal stuff from the store. You're likely to get killed for it, but you could do it. If you wanted to go down that road, the game was broad enough that it didn't put artificial walls up to your behavior and had all kinds of stuff there to steal if you wanted to. In the same way, Hommlet, the farmers and things, they have their little caches of what they've socked away. And yeah, probably if you're a good adventurer, you'll never steal from them. You'll never take it. But you might. Or you might come to the fact where, you know, maybe they need to get a whole bunch of gold together for some reason, and maybe the farmer will come out of the woodwork and give it to you because you saved him, and you saved his pony or something. So then he goes and grabs his little treasure from where he buried it or socked it away, and then gives it to you. The data is there. So let's just read one. So here we have here. Let me see if I can find it. Got number 1. There it is. Talking down here. Number 1. This is a prosperous farm cottage and large barn. Right there. The wood and plaster house is well kept, and the barn beyond is bulging with hay, grain, etc. Several fat animals are about. A large good wife, rosy-cheeked and friendly, greets all who call, while 4 children look on. Inside, a young girl and an old granny do various chores. 2 large farm dogs bark loudly at the approach of strangers. The head of the house and 2 full-grown sons work in the fields. There's nothing to interest adventurers here, and outside of feed grain or hay, the farmer does not have anything to sell or trade. So this is so there's the farmer, and I guess this barn belongs to this farmer here. And notice the language, right? It's prosperous. It's got a large barn. It's bulging with hay. The wife is large and rosy cheeked. Everyone is. You're getting the sense that these are well-to-do folks. Now, the bold bit, which is GM's eyes only, says, the 3 men are militia, 0 level. The elder has a bilguisarm, Gygax loved his polearms, and a ringmail jack, while his sons have leather armor and shield and wield a flail and a battle axe, respectively. Each has a dagger at all times. And the use of the flail here is probably interesting, because it was maybe a year ago, maybe a year or longer. It might have been more that we went down a little bit. You could maybe find the stream somewhere. We went down a bit of a rabbit hole on the flail and its historicity or lack thereof. But in this case, it kind of makes sense because a flail is something that they would use as part of their farming. So potentially, even if flails weren't really used in terms of soldiery and kind of on a military basis, it's as a farming tool. If anyone was going to be wielding one, it makes sense. So they've actually put the flail in probably the best place you could put a flail if you were going to have it, sort of trying to be historically accurate, which, of course, we're playing a fantasy game, so no one really cares, but still kind of interesting. Each has a dagger at all times. They take arms only in self-defense or when called up by the village elder. The farmer has 57 platinum pieces, so that would be, 570 gold, hidden in his mattress, and a 500 gold piece gem secured in his pouch against hard times. The lintel over the front door is carved with acorns and oak leaves, and if politely asked, they will state that they are of druidical persuasion. So we're even getting a little bit of some different faiths going on there. We know there's a church. We don't know yet to whom, but the church is up here. There's also a druid woods. So these guys are Druish. We got some Druish farmers. Number 2, so down this way. And the numbering is interesting, too, because we're actually starting, instead of starting this way and going into town, we're starting at this crossroads, which I guess they're imagining. Maybe they're imagining you're coming from this road here, and then I guess splitting it off. But in any case, because, yeah, it goes 1, 2, 3, and then, okay, interesting. Anyway, back here, modest farmhouse and barn. So here we had a prosperous one, now there's a modest one. Clean but slightly run-down buildings indicate that this farm is not too prosperous. However, the stock around looks quite healthy and plump. An elderly couple are master and mistress, while an active lad of 12 or so, a servant, does chores. There's nothing of particular interest to be seen, and these folks have nothing to trade. They say that their son Elmo would be interested in talking with strangers. He's at the inn having a Jack Vale. Their other son, Otis, They go on, sadly shaking their heads. Took service with some gentlemen and is away seeking his fortune. Elmo is strong, but not too quick, and he is overfiend of brew. So some nice character notes about the two sons. Otis went off looking for adventure, and I do not recall if that will come back anywhere or not, but he's not around. But it is giving that, again, that kind of dynamism. You're not the only adventurers walking around. There are other folks coming, and then one of their sons has gone off with them, which is just another nice touch, because you always wonder, in terms of the populace, hirelings are just kind of there, but kind of where do they come from? Well, here we can see this farmer is down one son because they went off adventuring. And I need a swig of, what is this, Mandarin Orange Polar seltzer for the working man. Let's see. Hey, Beardy Ben. Beardy Ben says, in Shadowrun, there's a whole adventure for going to the local bodega. Possibilities all depend on how you want to run the game. Well, as someone who lives in New York City and going to a bodega can be an adventure. Absolutely. Now the GM notes. Interesting. They bold the GM notes instead of I think I might use italics or something that doesn't grab my attention, because I wouldn't want to accidentally say this stuff, or I just want to. It makes my eye go down to that as opposed to what I'm immediately should be telling the party. But in any case, that's their choice. I do like that they set it off somehow, though. So the elderly farmer is a retired adventurer. Aha, what's does it say? Still equal to 4th level. All right, now I know some people hate this thing. Some people like this, some people hate it. I know there's a trope where you walk in and every bartender's like a level 8 retired fighter, whatnot. But clearly there are going to be some retired fighters. Level 4 is not too much. I mean, look at that. He's a level 4 fighter. He's still only got 16 hit points. And that's kind of the thing with what I appreciate about the kind of more old school additions to the game, is that you don't have that hit point bloat. Yeah, he's 4th level and you may be 1st level, but there's 3 or 4 or 5 of you or more potentially. And this guy, if there's just him, he's only got 16 hit points. So that's less than 1 round. If you hit, you're just, that's it. So yeah, he's 4th level. And so that makes him formidable on a one-on-one basis, but you're probably not coming at him one-on-one. And like I said, that's 16 hit points is equal to 4 or 5 blows from weapons. So yeah, he's maybe definitely tougher than the average bear, but it's not going to do him all that much good. He has a suit of scale mail and shield, sword and crossbow, and a chest in the front room. He is captain of the militia, but he will say nothing of it. Underneath, some rusty nails and a keg in the back shed, 20 platinum pieces, so that's another 200 gold, 51 gold pieces, and 172 electrum pieces. Oh, no, wait, is it electrum? Is it gold, platinum, electrum? I don't remember. But the EP I think are pretty valuable. I don't use them, so I forget how the conversion. Once I get past copper, silver, gold, was it copper, silver, gold, platinum, electrum? Somebody remind me, is it platinum and then electrum, or electrum then platinum? In any case, he's got a pretty good little hoard there. So would that be 200 gold and then that 17,000 gold? I can't remember, but still, nice little haul. A cupboard in the house holds a silver service that's worth 1,300 gold. So they clearly went off. Copper, electrums between silver and gold. Okay, that was my confusion. That was my confusion. Thank you, Ian. Elmo is a 4th level ranger. He's got 41 hit points. He has the following items hidden in a lead-lined oaken chest buried in the dirt floor of the barn. +1 chainmail, +2 shield, +1 battle axe, 600 gold piece gems, 10 platinum pieces, 50 gold pieces, 100 silver pieces. He carries a +2 dagger at all times. My brother Otis gave it to me. I don't know why I said it like he's some kind of troll. He will proclaim proudly if asked, my brother Otis gave it to me. I don't know if that's any better. Elmo's speech is slow and halting. He often appears tipsy and jovial, but he is not. Elmo is an agent of the Viscount of Verbank. So there you go. Wondering why he's got a whole bunch of hit points and he's a 4th level ranger? Well, he is no mere farm boy. He is an agent. And he frequents the Welcome Wench Inn in order to observe all newcomers and insinuate himself in their expeditions. Thus, Elmo will be interested in getting money to be used for later ale purposes, obviously, for being a man-at-arms, and he will gladly go with any who ask, providing they will furnish him with armor and a big axe. If so employed, he will wear his own mail in place of or under that purchased and uses magical acts as well. If anything untoward befalls Elmo, his brother Otis will eventually hear of it and seek redress. Otis is a 10th level ranger, away on a quest with the Yade, the canoness of the local church, and an elven accomplice named is that Murflees or Murfles? A fighter thief of first and second level. And I hopefully they did make it in because we didn't see the Temple of Elemental Evil for a while. So, yeah, there's that. So these are, higher level. Obviously, he's got a whole bunch more hit points than his pa, but he's also an agent. So it makes sense. He's not an inactive farm boy. He's undercover. So you got to be careful. I'm thinking I probably, because the interesting thing, I think what sometimes what throws people off when you find these leveled people, though it's reasoned out here. This is not just, okay, retired, whatever, is also happens to be a master magician. It's explained in a way that makes sense. These are agents. These are active operatives. They're leveled up. But I probably would alert the party just generally so that it didn't feel like a gotcha to them. I'm not sure how I would do it. So I don't want to say, oh, by the way, this town is full of agents, because that just seems to be kind of spoiling the fun that you can have with it. But I might also just want to say something, only because I don't want to have that, like, it's unfair when they go to attack the guy and they don't cut him down in 5 blows and he goes against his +2 battle axe and just starts wrecking town. So I'm not sure how I would do it, but I probably want, in a very generic way, would probably say that, hey, man, the world is a mix of leveled and unleveled folks, and sometimes the leveled folks are in places you don't necessarily expect. So, be aware. Maybe that's enough. Like I said, I wouldn't want to ruin any kind of surprises, but I don't want them to feel like, because I think what happens sometimes is where the gotcha comes in, or where it became a trope of the gotcha isms, is that it doesn't seem to make sense and there's no real setup for it. And then suddenly, especially if the GM plays them being proactive instead of reactive, because the way this is set up, if we go back and we read, I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but that's okay. If we go back and read through here, Elmo he's trying to keep an eye on people, trying to learn things about newcomers, maybe looking for other agents. There might be agents of elemental evil floating around, right? But he's very reactive. He's in the bar. If you come up to him, he'll join you. He'll do some stuff. He's not making trouble for you necessarily. That's not to say that if the party didn't get into it in the tavern, that maybe Elmo would insert himself, but maybe not. Maybe you'd think, like, I can't give myself away. But everything here is very reactive. I think the danger sometimes with this is that the GM turns it into someone who's being very active. So, you go into the store and, like, the guy is like the jerk who is just making life difficult. And when they push it and push it and push it and finally you respond, then it's like, haha, I'm the 10th level master magician and, fireball kind of thing. And I know the other part of it is often players trying to thieve stuff. And so you do it kind of, we don't want them to steal everything. So we're going to make everybody super powerful. I get that that's an element also. Beardy Ben says, I cast a gun. There you go. As Brian Smith says, you don't know if that guy with the dog is John Wick. Right. That might be another way of good at putting it, right? That there are some John Wicks around in this world. You don't know who they are. So just be aware, because there's no detect leveling spell. So that might be a good way to put it. Like, hey, most people are unleveled, but there are some John Wicks out there, or, heroes, John McClane's, John Wicks, these sort of, not every man is actually an everyman. Some of them might be more than you bargained for. All right, we got the woodcutter over here, cottage. I like to make sure that, they have a lot of these guys who just have nothing of interest. So here's the other thing which I enjoy about these. This is, I think, every house so far, they've basically been saying, like, yeah, they got nothing to trade, they don't want anything, they don't have anything, and yet they still give you the items. It really almost feels like this tacit Like, you know what? They're not going to be trading with you, but that doesn't mean you're not going to end up going through the floorboards and finding the guy's 9 gold, 13 electrum, 17 silver, and 38 copper. It doesn't mean, just because I'm telling you there's nothing there, it doesn't mean that you're not going to come back and rifle through the guy's stuff. I think it's just great, because I think in a lot of places, maybe even more modern ones, I don't know for sure, but I imagine that you just said that, yeah, he has nothing of interest, and that would be it. Because why would you even talk about it on the floorboards? He has nothing of interest. It's just a house there. Nope. We're going to tell you anyway, because we know what your players are capable of. Brian asks, is it a built-in conceit for players who just strip loot every room? I mean, it's a built-in. I think one of the things is it's there are a couple things. So we're getting a location here. We're getting that, okay, this cottage. We know here from the key it's a woodcutter, even though they don't say he's a woodcutter, or do they say it here? Oh yeah, it does. So local woodcutter, and we get he's a militiaman. He's got some young kids and his wife. There are two things, right? So we're getting the location in a pouch under the floorboards, which is clearly something that is for if the party is, at least primarily, I imagine, if the party were in the room and started searching the place, where would it be? But the other thing I like about it is that we don't know what's going to happen in the game, or we're using this as our home base. Something's happening. Maybe at some point we're rolling up events and someone kidnaps the militiaman's young wife, and the party finds out about it, goes to the woodcutter and says, "Hey, listen, some bad guys have kidnapped your young wife, or your 3 or one of your kids, or all your kids. We're going to try to get them back. It's going to be dicey. They're asking for some kind of ransom. What have you got?" And then you can say, because you read this, you say, okay, well, the local woodcutter sheds a tear, but kind of gets a grip of himself quickly. He goes to a floorboard and taps it and gently lifts it up. And inside, he pulls from his pouch. He pulls from a gap underneath the floor, a pouch, and in the pouch he pours out the contents on his rough-hewn wooden table. And you see that there's 9 gold pieces, 13 electrum pieces, 17 silver, and 38 copper. So as a GM, kind of, well, what resources do they have? Now, you could roll it up down the line if you needed it down the line, right? You could add some random things in here, but they just give it to you. So I think it serves several purposes. I think there definitely is the thing where the party at any given time may decide, or a thief in the party, or whatever, may decide to go ransack the woodcutter's house. Or maybe the woodcutter and his family are killed in some kind of enemy action, and then the party decides to go, well, they don't have any relatives, so we'll go take it. But it also could be just to give you a sense of what the woodcutter's resources are if they need them at some point for something. Heck, maybe it's the party who kidnaps the wife and children, and so he has to go get that. And then you have this really interesting little list, and maybe he goes to some of the other farms and gets some of their stuff. And so you can just grab all these treasures and put them together for to show the kind of bargaining power that they have. Brian says, on their own, it's a good list of examples of ways you can hide stuff for when a player decides to look for a secret. Yep, there's that too. That's why I think it's a nice touch. You could do without it. Just say that, hey, hidden in the cottage is X. But then when you're adjudicating, you'll have to figure out in the spot where it's hidden. In this case, it's specific, which gives you ways to play it out. If you're in a role play situation, gives it the parties, you can ask how the party is searching the location and then get it from there. And it doesn't really cost much space, so why not? If you have an idea for where they might have hidden it, then do it. And I know we saw someone had it. One of the guys had it in their bed. This guy's got it in his floorboards. As we'll see in the well-kept barn, 2 sons have a large iron pot buried beneath the tree in the backyard that has 97 gold pieces and 421 silver. So they've got it in their backyard. The other thing, too, it means that the party, there's no, it's not going to be a single thing, right? So if the party goes to the cottage and peels up the floorboards and finds the woodcutter's treasure, well, they go to the well-kept farm and it's not going to be there because these guys hid it by their tree. So I like that they're kind of various. You can't, there's not a particular method. The methods are idiosyncratic for most part. In the prosperous farmhouse, it's inside a crock, inside a manure pile. There's some gems, some platinum, some gold, and then let's see. I guess the farmer who's a widower has a purse with him there. He's got eight platinum, 15 gold, 22 silver, and 8 coppers in. RPG Grandma says peasants have to hide their wealth or the tax collector will take it. Yeah, I mean, they're very real. I mean, people really do hide stuff. I mean, it happens not infrequently that someone dies or whatever, and then sometime later someone finds the house changes hands, and suddenly someone digs up in their backyard some kind of little chest or something with box with money or something in it. Yeah, people do that all the time. A lot of people don't. There's people who don't trust banks, period, and will keep stuff in their mattress or in a weird spot. And of course, safes and everything are the modern equivalents. They don't really have safes. So what can you do? You even locks are pretty primitive, and chests are big and heavy, and they're pretty obvious. So if you want the same effect as the hidden safe in somebody's house behind a picture, well, you got to do what they're doing. Bury it in the yard, put it under your bed, put it under the floorboards, hide it behind something. All right, so we got more. Okay, so let's see. So we did some farmhouses, and like I said with these things, these farmers, they're just backdrop characters. They're not people that, whatever scenario is going on. There's not people that the party is really going to be interested in. But yet they have some bits about them. We know which ones are militia members. They don't have names, but we can name them. We kind of get some idea of their situations. We can get some ideas of their wealth. That it is maybe even slightly different than the appearances they have. And they all have a little bit of individuality about them, even though on the surface they're not of interest, because Gygax makes sure to tell us, yeah, they don't have anything of interest and they're not interested in anything. Let's see. So 7 is where? Well, hold on. We have 6. Oh, because we get let's do. So we had the leather worker, house with leather hide tacked to the front door. This is the home and business of the village leather worker. With him live his wife, her brother, a simpleton who does not bear arms. Oh, come on, man. That's kind of cold. And 3 children, of whom the eldest is a 12-year-old boy. The leather worker is a jack of all trades, being shoe and boot maker, cobbler, saddler, harness maker, and even fashioning leather garments and armor, the latter requiring some time and a number of fittings and boiling. He is not interested in any sort of adventuring, but you could maybe get him to make you something. Sewn into an old horse collar are 27 gold pieces and 40 electrum pieces, as well as a silver necklace worth 400 gold pieces. So he also has his little hidden cash. And we don't even get a price list, because presumably, I know there is a price list here, but I forget what building it's attached to. But, again, not particularly of interest to the party. Yeah, of course, you can role play up some situation where somebody needs some leather armor. But, the fact is that he's here most for the people. So he's kind of in a more sort of background, but still has some personality and still has some a little bit of loot. 7, which is here. Large walled building with a square. Oh, something else is kind of funny. They don't say leather worker. I mean, it says it on the map, leather worker. But here, the thing we get is house with leather tacked on the front door, which I think is another nice thing, because it's a little bit of information without necessarily saying, well, just here's a leather worker, right? You can, when the party first comes by, that you're walking down the street, you say, oh yeah, you see a house with a leather hide that's tacked to the front door. Presumably, you could also smell. I forget the names, like lye or salt, whatever the stuff they use in leather making. I think is pretty noxious. So interesting that he's right kind of in the town center. Or the curing. Maybe he's not doing the curing part, which I think is where the nasty stuff is used. But in any case, that's what you get. And the same thing, the inn here, don't just call it an inn, large walled building with a square wooden sign showing a buxom and smiling girl holding a flag and a beer. It's going to be obvious that's kind of the inn and tavern, but I do appreciate that you get that little external image that he's actually trying to give you some description and not just a name. This is the Inn of the Welcome Wench, a place renowned for its good food and excellent drink. Passing merchants make a point of stopping, as do many other sorts of wayfarers, and the place is always filled with patrons. 3 levels of this place are shown on a separate map. I'm not going to. I notice I've got this handy dandy map separate from this, but I'm not going to go to the separate map. I'm thinking of a tanner. Yeah, I think I am thinking of a tanner. You're right, Beardy Ben. Yep, so the leather worker maybe doesn't have as much stinky stuff as the tanner. Okay. A young stable boy and a groom handle the draft and riding animals and themselves live in the stables. There will be the innkeeper, who's got a name, Ostler Gundagoot, second level fighter, the sergeant of the militia. So he's got some levels, but there's a reason he's got some levels. He's in the militia, and presumably the militia has seen some action. Ringmail, shield and sword. His good wife, their 2 daughters, a serving wench or 2, and a pair of potboy apprentices bustling about. Several customers will be in the main room, 4 to 16. So that would be 4d4. The host talks freely but says little. He has a sharp eye and a good sense for judging character. He serves all comers and will rent a room to anyone who's not causing trouble. The first potboy is an aspiring druid, and he serves as the courier to the druid of the grove, bearing messages of interesting data to him. So the host, not an agent, but he's got a couple levels on him, so he's got a little something to him, but he's definitely, maybe he's working for somebody we might learn later on, but in any case, he's keeping his eye out. And of course, the potboy is, or at least one of them, is an aspiring druid and works for the druid. So being mean to the potboy might have unintended consequences if you end up at the druidry or the druid grove. Let's see. So 8. Where's 8? 7, 9, 11, 8. Open shed and house beyond. There's a post with a horseshoe nailed to 3 of its faces and a forge in the... So forge and bellows in the shed show this is the local smithy. Smith is short but brawny. 3rd level druid. Oh, so there's a lot of druid types in here. And it's obviously hardworking, forthright, and likable. Really interesting, because I think nowadays I don't think people would associate being a druid with being a metalsmith. I think even, I mean, oftentimes I think of druids as not even being able to wear leather armor. Am I remembering that incorrectly? I don't know what, this is an AD&D module. I don't know if that was, I don't have my AD&D books handy to look, but really interesting that the druid is a metalworker. Because I would not have pegged that. Oh, yep, Frederick says, druids everywhere, indeed. He's able to do all sorts of metal work, even fashion iron and steel weapon heads, caps, and shield work, although he will readily admit he is not capable of fine armoring. Brother Smith, quote unquote, is the assistant to the druid of the grove, although he will never work up very high because of his occupation, and he's a devoted cleric. Haha, okay, well, there at least is something. I'm not sure if he'll never work up very high because he works with metals or because he splits time. Unknown. In the absence of the druidical head, he will assume the role of religious advisor to the faithful. He has a small chest filled with 28 silver pieces and 82 copper pieces. The rest of his wealth he gives to the good work for the needy. In no event will he leave his fireside to go adventuring. So you're not luring him out, but maybe he could do some work for you. Again, no prices are given. So you'd have to work it out, or like I said, I know there's prices for some stuff somewhere, but I'm going to guess it might be in the trader building. And I like these kind of interlock. We got some interlocking pieces here. We have some folks. We have the sense of the druid and the druid's influence, or just feelers that go through here. That we have different folks are druidic in their beliefs, and we've got the. We had the pot boy is a druidic apprentice, and this guy is kind of a druidic assistant. So we're getting a sense of this kind of interconnected. Folks have these kind of interconnections in the town. They're not just their own separate stories all by themselves. Frederick said that Gary's writers sort of flirt about between ADD druid and historical druid. Well, this is Gary himself. I mean, at least he took the writing credit. I don't know behind the scenes what went on, but he's got the writing credit for this. So presumably he's going with whatever he wants to, though he might have, just as other people did, kind of go back and forth between how he wanted to portray druids. Frederick says he thinks Gary wanted druids because it's elemental and not a specific god. That makes sense. All right, so we have a new building, because remember, so there is some kind of new construction stuff going on. We know there's a new, or at least we learn there's a new castle being built, And number 9 is also a new building. There's no one within, the doors are unlocked, and a few benches and stools are against the bare walls. A large plain table is at the far end. A tapestry on the back wall shows a green field with 2 acorns above a sheaf of grain, which is the banner of Hommlet. So there we get a nice little bit about Hommlet. We know exactly what this town's about. It's a farming, it's farming mostly. This is the village hall recently constructed for feasts and councils by Bernie and Rufus, or Bern and Rufus. So I'm going to say Bernie. We have a well-kept dwelling. Where are we now? Where's 10? Some of this numbering kind of goes all over the place. 8, 9, 10, which is a weaver. So here we have the other side of it. So we've been seeing druidic people, or people who apparently have no strong religious beliefs, but now we get some folks that are followers of St. Cuthbert. They have moved to the area only 2 years ago. The weaver has a cache of 7 small gold ingots and a gold pin with an amethyst valued at 300 gold pieces behind a loose stone in the fireplace. We got some St. Cuthbertites in there. We have the tailor and 11. So I'm just kind of breeze through some of these because we are getting a lot of the same sort of stuff. I think the main takeaway. So the main takeaways for me when I'm looking at, because remember my original premise of looking at this was, man, does this make a really good town or does it? And I think it does. And I think for a lot of people, that's like, duh, of course it does. But when I'm looking at it for myself, trying to figure out, well, what is it about it that makes it special? I think I like for myself, I think when I'm looking at it and reading through these things, the things that I like for myself about it, that of course it's going to be your miles may vary. I like the fact that it is filled with things that to me make sense in the town. That looking at the folk of this town, it's not just about what might make most sense for adventuring. Of course, you can inject plots in here, and we have agents at work, and there's St. Cuthbert. So we got a Church of St. Cuthbert, and we have a Druid Lodge, and we've got the agents of Verbabonk running around, and we got all this stuff, and that's fine, and that will potentially come up. But the fact that we have all these folks that we can look at, we can call upon. We can go through. We can name all these farmers. We know a bit about their standing, at least in terms of their farms. Which ones are better farms than the others? I mean, they're all in the same kind of land. So if one is more prosperous than the other, presumably it's because they have more help, or they're just better at it, or whatnot. We have all the folks who are really supporting the farmers, which is what makes sense for the village. They're not just about whatever adventuring. This is not a town in the sort of adventuring headquarters mold. And there's nothing really wrong with that. Some towns are set up to be like, here's where all the adventurers go to, and here, that kind of Wild West sort of bit about here is a town that's only there because we've got prospectors coming through. So the town is basically designed to just exchange out prospector money for stuff one way or another. And then for the fantasy setting, we've basically subbed in adventurers for prospectors. So it's kind of like, this is the stuff for adventurers, because adventurers come through the town. So they're going to need X, Y, and Z, and then great. And then the kind of like, and then the town, it feels a lot like a Wild West town in that it looks fine when you're on Main Street, but if you pull back, you look to the sides, there's just this, it's almost just the fronts, like you're looking at the Hollywood set, and there really is nothing at all behind it. It's just a bunch of fronts and then nothing. For myself, I prefer these more fleshed out towns, because they just give you a lot more ammunition for your imagination stuff to work with. They just give you a lot more things you can call upon to find information. Maybe there's a chase, somebody's trying to run through the town, and you know what, they end up, you roll, and they roll some dice, they end up in this farmhouse. Then you can read about that farmhouse and see what it is, and see what gold is there, or whatever treasure maybe the guy can get a hold of, or the party or whatnot, like all this stuff. The woodcutter, where's the woodcutter at? Like, there's the brewer over here. All this stuff. It's just, to me, it just gives a lot of inspirational material that I like. And then for me, I guess I just like this kind of vibe more than just kind of the adventurer town. Though there's, like I said, there's places for all of them, and both of them, all of them, and anything in between. Let's see. Frederick says that I should do Footprints number 5 for the best first solo adventure, The Lost Chalice of Father Tomas. I'll have to check it out. I remember reading some of those Footprints ones way back when, but hey, Paint Minis Live. It's been a while. Okay. So let's see. I want to check out the choich. Which one's the choich? The choich of St. Cuthbert is what? All the way up at number 20. Oh, the trader. Maybe we should go to the trader. Let me zoom out here. So we got the trader. Whoops. The trader is... Oh, make me dizzy. Trader is 13. No. Yes. All right. So what's the what do we have with the trader? Wooden building with shutters and many windows. Outside the door is a shield and a lantern. Outside the door, a shield and lantern are suspended from chains. The shield is painted to show a sword and a cheese. This is the local trader, a merchant providing the needs of villagers, travelers, and adventurers alike. It is run by Ranos Davi, 10th level thief, +1 magical leather armor, +1 dagger, +1 ring of protection, +2 short sword under the counter, medallion versus crystal balls and ESP under his jerkin. Woo! Look at that one. I like that one. Yeah. You are not ESPing or using a crystal ball on this guy, who is best described as slow, fat, clumsy, and placid. Oh, come on. He didn't get to 10th level by being just a total chud. His partner is Graernog, 7th level assassin, +2 chain shirt, dagger of venom, disappearance dust, sufficient for 3 uses in the pouch with 39 hit points. A tall and thin individual with sharp features and protruding eyes. So they kind of went with the sort of comedic duo of the kind of large guy and the thin guy, which is sort of funny. And we got a little. Oh, it was that? No, I guess it was my typo. It's not Graernog, it's Gramag. That was my mistaking the M for an RN. Gramag tends to dither and fuss at Ranos Davi and customers alike. The whole front building is filled with various goods, and the barn has animals, saddles, and the like available to any willing to pay the price. And with parenthetical note that the place is covered on a separate map. Okay, don't care about that. Both traders claim disinterest in all alignments, proclaiming they will happily deal with anyone who is a paying customer. Ranos Davi is chaotic evil and highly suspicious. Gramag is as evil and even more chaotic. Both are servants of the Temple of Elemental Evil, report activity in Hommlet to a brigand courier, and aid any and all other evil creatures who come into temple service. So there you go. We've got our agents of evil who are here, posing as traders. In the rear barn, there are various animals for sale: mules, draft horses, riding horses, ponies, and 1 medium war horse. There are 2 to 5 of each type. These can be restocked in 7 to 12 days from passing dealers. If war horses are desired, it will take from 7 to 30 days to obtain 1 to 2 heavy or 1 to 3 medium or light steeds, with a maximum of 4 such animals obtainable in any 30-day period. I really like this stuff because it's part of that thing I like where it's like, hey, you're not necessarily going to have everything you need in stock. Basically they can order it for you, right? We don't have it here, but we can order it for you. And I sort of appreciate that because it means that the party might have to make choices. Well, I really like those heavy war horses, but we can't wait 2 weeks for them to come. So we're going to have to take these light ponies and go for it. And I always like that stuff. That, that kind of time is potentially a resource, and I think having it be something that, or not having everything at the party's fingertips means they have to make choices based on time. Even in town, a groom who's also a chaotic evil bandit, and a man-at-arms. Let's see, a groom. I'm looking at the parenthetical. Wow, it goes all the way down there. Okay, a groom and a man-at-arms with longbow and sword will hire out on orders for the traders, but they will require they be paid 2 gold pieces per day, that the adventurers purchase a chainmail suit of armor for them. Naturally, they are desirous of having their agent accompany the party. If the group does not hire their agent, the traders will keep close track of their activities by any means possible, including following them personally if the situation warrants it, i.e., if they know that the party has been particularly successful. For such missions, the stock of magical devices hidden away will be brought out. The traders will gladly buy any items which the adventurers happen upon, they say, and pay a fair price for such too. The sum paid for any items in good condition is 40% to 70% of the selling price stated in the book, just as they sell at 110% of book value, minimum price, asking more first. So we're even here including a little bit of, if you want to do some dithering and bargaining, they'll go for it. So they're going to start at 110%. Actually, they'll probably start at more than 110, and that'll be there, and they'll try to go down to 110. and then they're only going to pay you 40 to 70. They'll probably offer you 40 to start and see what if you bite. And of course, you also have to know now, or maybe you only figure out in retrospect, that if you're selling potentially valuable items or weapons to them because you don't have use of them, that they may come out to literally bite you when you're in the field. We all had swords of +2, so we didn't need the sword of +1. So we sold it to him. Well, then, you're fighting some brigand and suddenly you recognize the sword that the chief brigand is hitting you with. It's the one that you sold back to those traders. As RPG Grandma says, beware of used horse dealers. Indeed. Take it easy, RPG Grandma. Thanks for hanging out. All right, so where's the church? So we have a money changer shop. What's the deal with a money changer shop? He will happily exchange coins or metal for other exchange media, charging only 10% of the value. What does that mean? He will happily exchange coins or metal for other exchange media. Does that mean gems? Let me see. Nero also deals in gems and jewelry, paying 50 to 80% of actual value, buying, selling above value, and even making it cost as materials value doubled, which is the new value of the jewelry. So he'll make jewelry. Obviously, he can't make gems, but he'll make jewelry. He asks no questions and is always obliging and polite. And he is truly neutral. He's got no interest other than, I guess, making some money. So that's kind of cool if you're wanting to figure out how to change your gold, silver, electrum back and forth. That's going to cost you, but you can do it. Or you can also exchange he'll buy and sell some gems and stuff. But I do like that there's fees associated with it. You're not getting 100% value back for these things. You're giving something up every step of the way. All right, let's see. I wanted to see the church. So let's get down to 20. Here we go. The Church of St. Cuthbert. This newly built edifice was raised by the Viscount in honor of the aid rendered to him by the Archcleric of Valuna in the war against the Temple of Elemental Evil. A somewhat distant cleric and his assistants officiate during services and otherwise serve their flock. In general, anyone coming to the church in other times will have to deal with a lesser cleric, the priest Calmer, or Calmert, but I'll go with Calmer. For holy water can be obtained only at this location or from the trader who purveys plain water as holy water. All right, so you can only get holy water in a couple spots, but this is the only one that's actually holy water because the trader's giving you just tap. Calmer is known for his zeal in obtaining contributions. This honest man is anxious to give a sum to the builders of the fortress under construction, and although it should seem otherwise, most of the miscellaneous money he collects for the quote-unquote church from characters will go towards building the castle. So he actually is coming from a nice place, but he might seem a little off because he's asking for a lot of money and maybe asking for it often. The reality is his cause is actually trying to do something good, which is get that castle built, which makes sense. They've already dealt with the Temple of Elemental Evil once, and maybe they have inklings that it might not be, nothing is truly gone. The temple may rise again, and it will. So let's get that castle built up because they don't have, like I said, they don't have any other defenses. So they need that castle. But Canon Turgeon, 6th level cleric, let's see, invisibility and mammal control rings. Ooh, I like that. Let's see. Recently became the chief cleric of the church, taking over from the Kenoness Yade, who left unexpectedly and has not returned. That's another connection to the farm boy Otis, who is adventuring with them. The villagers say that Turgeon is not particularly friendly, and his sternness is a cause of some speculation. Actually, this cleric is not a bad fellow at all, but he is rather displeased at being called to care for the church while Yade is on a quest, for Turgeon's desirous of being off adventuring himself, and only the request of the Archcleric of Valuna keeps him on station. All right. So, Yade is someone who will show up later on. I'm guessing he'll still show up later on. So let me get the church. Were there any other locations? Let me just see. Where was the list of goods? Because I know I saw one. Oh, maybe it was here. It might have been here. So at the inn, that's what I think must have been what it was. It wasn't. It was. I was looking at food, not goods. Let's see. These are just kind of for the maps. What's that? Why is that blurred out? I don't know. Mistake with the scan, I suppose. Oh, mercenary troops. Okay. Awesome. So, what do we have here? What makes Hommlet great? Well, I think I've gone through it, and I think we've seen what's going on. We got a lot of different things going on. It's got that kind of feature I think I like in a lot of adventures I like have this that are sort of location. They are location based or locations feature heavily, and so you get these kind of interconnections between potentially the party, but even between individuals. Now we don't have so much of that there with specific folks intersecting with other folks, but we do have the kind of druidic connection. Some people of that faith. We have some folks who are in with St. Cuthbert. We've got the Temple of Elements Evil Cultists, and then potentially some others. I didn't read all of them. So we have these three factions that are going to be in play from moment one, and it gives you, the GM, or whoever is GMing, presumably you if you're running Hommlet, a lot of inspiration material, things to draw from. We need somebody. Well, maybe you get the Druid faction. You could set up faction turns for each of these. What is the Temple trying to do? What is St. Cuthbert type thing? We have that other faction, the Count of Verberbonk. What are the Verberbonkians up to? And they can all intersect with whatever the party's doing. And it's likely, given what we've seen so far, that the party is going to be, just in doing their own thing, going to at least be running into some of these factions, and even some of the simple choices that they may make. Who do they bring on as hirelings? There's no list of just random hirelings here, but people are going to almost be throwing themselves at the party's feet. Take this guy, take that guy, take whatever. And whether you take them or not is going to have a real impact. If you don't take their hirelings and you're successful, well, then the traders are going to keep their eye on you because they're probably wondering, well, you didn't take our hirelings and you're doing well. That's kind of suspicious in our eyes. By the same token, Otis's brother, I forget his name, who's over in the Inn of the Welcome Wench, if you don't take him on, he might be watching you closely too, because he's also intensely curious for very different reasons. And then you've just got all these other folks who may not have a particular story, but they've got some personality. They have a little bit of background that's going to tell you where they stand on certain things. You get a little bit about their well-being, and they even have some little treasure caches, which the party will be happy to find once they realize they're all out there. But even not, then you get to use those as inspiration for when things happen. What are people going to be able to pull out of the woodwork when disaster strikes and they need money? What if the castle is almost finished, but then someone stole the lockbox and they need to raise money fast? How much is available? You can go back and look at those caches and see what people will give. Roll some dice and see how much of their individual caches will they dip into to help finish the castle, or something else entirely. So I think all that stuff, which you could probably wrap in a ribbon and say verisimilitude of this little micro setting of this town within the Greyhawk setting, all would make it a very, very interesting and effective starting town location. I'm going to make my own, but I'm going to use this for a lot of inspiration. I know a lot of folks have done great work with it, and there are plenty of stories of folks having adventures and misadventures using Hommlet as a home base. Next time you're looking for a home base, use Hommlet or use it for your own inspiration. Or let me know what towns or locations inspired you for places in your world. I will check out Crown of the Ancient Glory. Other than that, folks, game on.